Just like you, I'm a busy mom, and I know how busy our life is. I have 3 young children that I have created learning activities for. And let me tell you, I get it. Finding the time to work one-on-one with a toddler or preschooler can be extremely challenging. So today on the show, I'm going to share my favorite routines that have worked for our family in creating a daily routine at home. Let's dive right into what a typical morning at home looked like before any of my kids started kindergarten. Hey there, Mama. I'm Lauren Brainerd, and this is Teach Your Littles at Home. I'm so excited you have tuned in as I share fun and hands-on activities you can use right away to help you play and learn with your little ones. So let's dive right into today's episode so you can make more memories than you ever dreamed of. Our day typically begins at 6 a.m. We are very early risers. We finish breakfast around 7, and it's time for my children to have their independent playtime. I love doing what we call blanket time with my kids in the mornings, beginning around 16 months old, all the way till they're around 3.5 years old. I put out a blanket with a basket of toys, and I train my kids on how to play on that blanket for a set amount of time completely independently. Depending on their age, they'll play anywhere from 15 minutes to an hour, but it is unstructured playtime where I am not having to facilitate their play. They're just sitting there, they're playing, they're happy, content, and I'm able to get some things done. During this time from about 7 to 8 in the morning, I'm able to clean up from breakfast and then prepare all the activities that I know we're going to need for the learning time that I'm hoping will take place that day. By the time independent playtime is over, I try to mentally prepare for school or learning time or activities or whatever your family chooses to call this school time routine. This means that the kitchen is cleaned up from breakfast, I've had a fresh cup of coffee, and everything that we need for the activities we're about to do is set out for our learning time. Now, I've used this routine with 2 of my kids already, and each time we had a younger sibling. So I would always put, for my son, it was, baby sister went down for her nap. For my middle daughter, it was my third daughter went down for her nap. And then I was able to focus all my attention on that older child who was home with me for the day. It is the absolute best routine that for my older child because I'm able to give him or her that one-on-one time, and they knew exactly what to expect every single morning. When I first started creating lessons for my kids, we would do 1 or 2 quick activities. That was it. It was very simple, very quick, no or very little prep, and not too big of a commitment to where it was overwhelming for me as a mom with a 2.5-year-old and a newborn baby. As time went on, I began creating weekly themes where I would create a full week's worth of learning activities that were all based around a specific theme. So I still remember the very first theme that we chose was apples. It was fall, it was September. I had a 3-week-old. I had my 2.5-year-old son who needed keeping busy, and I decided we're going to do a whole week learning about apples. So today I want to go through all the types of activities we would do and give you a sample of what our mornings would look like as we went through this theme. But just remember, I want to preface this by saying that if you're just starting out with sitting down to do structured activities with your kids, then please just take it one step or one activity at a time. Choose one thing to do this week, do it really well, and don't bite off more than you can chew. Show up prepared with everything you need and don't feel like you have to do all the activities at once. It took us time to build up our daily routine, so please don't run out and buy and prep all the things to try and do the routine that worked for our family starting tomorrow. Okay, back to the start of our learning time together. I typically choose to begin our learning time with a sensory bin. I find that when we start with a sensory bin, it helps to prepare my kids to learn since they're just coming out of their independent playtime, whether it's on the blanket or in their room, and they're transitioning to the next part of their day. My kids can sometimes sit and play for a half hour with a sensory bin, but other days are only interested for a few minutes. This is completely normal, and I encourage you to follow your child's lead on how long they want to play with the activity. Now, with that said, if it's been 10 seconds, let's try and guide them and help them along. But if they're only interested for 5 or 10 minutes, just don't push it. They will build up their stamina and their ability and their attention and all those things as time goes on. So just give them time to learn how to play. When we finish with a sensory bin, I like to dive right into our daily fine motor activity. Now, if you aren't familiar with fine motor skills, these are the small and precise movements that we make with our hands as we cut with scissors, peel and stick stickers, string beads, use dot markers, and any other actions that involve the use of the tiny muscles in our hands. After fine motor, we move on to our math activity, and then this usually brings us to snack time. Snack is a great time to finish preparing anything I will need for a craft since my kids are busy eating and I can squirt some paint on a plate or things like that as we sit at the table together. After snack, I love to go outside for some gross motor playtime. We will usually play some sort of a game that goes with our theme, have a relay race, or any other activity involving movement. For example, when we did our pumpkin theme back in October, we actually rolled pumpkins into plastic cups and called it bowling. So you can get really creative with the types of movement activities you're doing that fit within the theme that you're learning. Now, if you aren't able to go outside due to weather, then I would usually do some sort of dance party, move like an animal, or some other whole body movement we can do indoors. After my kids have had time to get their wiggles out, we go right back inside for a craft that goes with our weekly theme. So after this craft, at this point, our school time is usually finished, but we might pull our sensory bin back out, or my kids will go play while I finish cleaning up from the morning activities. Depending on what that cleanup process looks like, I always involve my children in cleaning up because I want them to learn to take responsibility for the messes that they've made. Just like when they're in school, if you're planning on sending your kids to kindergarten, they're going to need to be responsible for their area. So since this is going to be required of them in school, it's important to start training those things now. And if you plan to homeschool all the way through, I can guarantee you will thank yourself later that you took the time to train your kids on how to clean up their areas from a very young age. Once our school time is over and we've cleaned up, we usually have just playing in the house together. We'll have some lunch, maybe run errands. Depending on the age of your kids, they might take a nap, and then you have the rest of your day to enjoy the time with your little one. So that is about what our school time usually looks like every day. Now, depending on what we're learning and the amount of time each activity takes, of course, things can look a little bit different from day to day. I don't always do things in this exact order, but I hope that this gives you a good place to start as you're thinking about how to plan activities for your little ones. Now, you might be sitting here thinking, this sounds great. I would love to do this, but my day is much busier than this. We don't have time to have these slow mornings where we get up and eat breakfast and play and do school. Well, let me tell you, Mama, that is what my life now looks like. When I started this routine that I shared today, I didn't have any school-age kids. Now, as I'm starting our homeschool preschool journey all over again with my third baby, our schedule is going to be slightly different. She also has independent playtime in the morning while I'm getting our older two ready for school and cleaning up breakfast. But rather than starting school after that, we take a family walk to school and come back home. At that point, once we're back, I'm able to start whatever school routine with her that I want to do because my two oldest are now safe and at school, and I'm able to focus solely on my baby. So just remember, creating a daily routine is going to look completely different for every family. So if something doesn't work the first time, don't be afraid to try something new tomorrow until you find what works for you. Also, remember that the routine that may feel like the absolute perfect fit once you get rolling right now might not work in a few months as your kids grow and develop. They may have naps at a certain time that get dropped in the future, which completely opens up your time and your day, and you're going to have shifts and have to find a new routine that works for you. I hope you are feeling inspired to sit down and think about what teaching your own children could look like for your family. If you want some help getting started with planning your morning, I've linked my free guide in the show notes all about how to plan activities for your little ones. The guide includes 6 skill areas that I like to focus on, which I touched on briefly today, but this will give you a lot more tools to help you as you're getting started planning out your own morning. You can also grab my complete list of themes that I do with my kids beginning when they're about 2 and 3 years old. I'll drop that link in the show notes as well to my free curriculum sequence that includes all 40 themes that we love to do throughout the year. I've added hyperlinks into this curriculum map that links to all of my blog posts for every theme, so you can see the photos and read all about the activities that we loved doing over this couple-year span. So make sure to download both of these resources to help make planning just a little bit easier for you as you sit down and start creating your perfect morning routine for your little ones. Thank you so much for tuning in to this episode of Teach Your Littles at Home. I hope you are feeling so inspired to create a new activity to do right away with your little ones.
If you like listening to my mommy, will you please leave her a review?
Before you head off to plan the next activity, would you mind leaving me a quick review on Apple Podcasts or wherever you are listening from? This is the only way for me to know if you're finding my tips, activities, and advice helpful, and I get so excited reading each and every review. I hope this episode has left you feeling empowered to try something new with your kids this week. And if so, would you please hit the share button and share this episode with another one of your mama friends who also wants to create activities with her little ones. I can't wait to share even more fun activities with you on our next episode. Have a wonderful rest of your day playing and making memories with your little ones.